How about when you look at yourself in the mirror every morning? Do you notice the start of a double chin or the growing spare tire around your waist? The noticeable lack of any muscle tone? And think to yourself, my God, man, you really should start eating a little better. Or you should cut back on the junk food, craft beer, and late night snacking. Or maybe when you finally do go to the gym and you see others about your same age, slim, trim, in shape, and lifting weights you're afraid to even try to pick up, you realize, I really should start an exercise routine that I could stick to. I should do something, right? Well, if this sounds familiar, maybe something you can relate to, congrats. You have lots of company. Hell, I've been there myself too. You are living at the exact level of your standards.
Welcome to the Mind Wrench Podcast with your host, Rick Sellover, where minor adjustments produce major improvements in mindset, personal growth, and success. This is the place to be every Monday, where we make small improvements and take positive actions in our business and personal lives that will make a major impact in our success, next level growth, and quality of life.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Mind Wrench Podcast. I'm your host, Rick Sellover. Thanks so much for stopping in. If you're a returning listener and haven't done so already, please take a minute and click the follow or subscribe button and then rate and review the show. When you rate and review the show, the algorithms for Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and all the other platforms will see that it's valuable and show it to more people that have never seen it before. And hopefully it can help them too. I would really appreciate your help sharing this word with your friends and family as well. And if you're a brand new listener, welcome. I hope you find something of value here that helps you in your personal or professional life as well. Please make sure to click the subscribe or follow button so you never miss another episode. Hey, Rick here. I got a couple questions for you right now, and you need to be completely honest with yourself here. No matter what your position is in this industry, regardless of the title you hold, has your annual income been basically stagnant for the past 5 years or so? Or maybe within a $10,000 swing either way. But you look around and notice others doing the exact same job, but at a much higher income. And you see some people that you started with in this business advancing to a much higher positions, and you think to yourself, I should be making more, right? How about when you look at yourself in the mirror every morning? Do you notice the start of a double chin or the growing spare tire around your waist? The noticeable lack of any muscle tone? And think to yourself, usually out loud, my God, man, you really should start eating a little better. Or you should cut back on the junk food, craft beer, and late night snacking. Or maybe when you finally do go to the gym and you see others about your same age, slim, trim, in shape, and lifting weights you're afraid to even try to pick up, you realize, I really should start an exercise routine that I could stick to. I should do something, right? Well, if this sounds familiar, maybe something you can relate to, something you answered yes to in either scenario, congrats. You have lots of company. Hell, I've been there myself too. You are living at the exact level of your standards. So hold that thought for a moment. I'm going to circle back to that in a minute. Have you noticed on any social media platform you visit, there's an unbelievable amount of ads for online courses on dozens of subjects from dozens of people you never heard of, right? It seems relentless, doesn't it? You probably have thought to yourself, these are probably just some kind of scams or get-rich-quick schemes that benefit the seller, but won't do diddly squat for me, right? Well, most times you might be right, but not all the time. I used to think the same thing too, until I saw an ad from someone I recognized, someone I trusted and respected, someone that's helped tens of millions of people through his life, and I pulled the trigger. I bought my first online course from Tony Robbins. That course that Tony, along with his partner Dean Graziosi, guided me through, changed the trajectory of my life forever and allowed me to raise my standards, something I didn't even realize was possible. Since then, I've read several books from Tony, and each book has made a major impact on my life, and paid for a few more trainings that continue to help me raise my standards and my quality of life. So when I heard this clip from Tony Robbins, I knew I just had to share it with all of you. In this clip, taken from a live 5-day event that Tony does every year, Tony explains how when we turn our shoulds, the questions I asked you about a minute ago, When we turn those shoulds into musts, we can raise our standards in our own lives too. Here's Tony.
Whenever you look at somebody and say, why are they more successful than anybody else? It's always because of step one, they've raised their standard. If you go back home and you want to change your life in any way, personally, professionally, or your company, as boring as it sounds, as stupid as it sounds, you might say, I spent all this time, this energy, this money, and you're going to tell me to raise my standards? Yes. Because even though that's not sexy, it is the only thing that creates lasting change. You can go on a diet and you can lose weight, but what will that person eventually do? They'll go where? Back, unless they raise their standard. Now that sounds so trite and stupid and positive thinky or old school, but the truth is it's the truth. So maybe I can language it in a way that's more compelling to you or more simple. What does it mean when we say raise our standards? It means you turn your shoulds into musts. The difference in people is that they turn their shoulds into musts. The things that you used to say I should do, you do your shoulds when it's convenient, when it's comfortable, when it goes your way. But when something is a must, not to other people, but a must to you, do you find the way to get it done, yes or no? So the difference in people is what's their must, or another word for that is what's their standard. Every person in this room right now, our bodies are a reflection of our physical standards. They are not a reflection of our desires. Most people have a desire for more energy or a better body or a stronger body or a more fit body. We don't get our goals, we get our musts. The ones that are the musts become how you are. And guess what? It shows up in your rituals. When it's a must, you have different rituals, different things you do consistently when you must have your body a certain way than you should or you'd like to or you ought to. How many follow what I'm talking about here? Say I. So whether we want it or not, the only way to change your body long term is change what the must is for you. Now, I'm not telling you what it should be. Who the hell am I? I'm just saying maybe it's time for you to take a look. Because many times you set the standard a long time ago, or you lost the standard completely because most of us base our standards by our environment. Who you spend time with is who you tend to become. So if everybody around you is gaining a little weight, or everybody around you is constantly tired, after a while, even if you had high energy, you don't want to make fun of them or tease them or make them feel bad. So gradually, subconsciously, you lower your own standard just a little bit. And that little bit is that old metaphor, overused but true. You take a frog and put him in boiling water, what's it going to do? Jump right out. But if you put him in and turn the water up real slowly, over time, it'll boil to death. That's most people's lives, isn't it? And it's usually because you haven't remembered the power of who you spend time with. Who you spend time with is who you become. So one of the things that's great about this 5 days is you found people from all over the world who are all absolutely committed to go day and night, night and day, literally, sometimes with food, sometimes without, but whose standard was, I'm here to maximize who I am, what I'm about, what I'm going to take home, what I'm going to create. That raises your game. Remember, play against somebody you're better than, your skills are going to go down. Play against somebody better than you, just to stay on the court, the game has to go up. Want to change your life? Raise your standard. Want to raise your standard the most? Get around where it's better. Surround yourself with people playing the game much higher than you are. So just to be around them, your game has to rise. That's part of what we try to do. When we come into a company, we create that by raising the standard amongst them. Or you got to do it by yourself, but you got to do it. How many agree with me on this? Say aye.
If you're looking for a competitive edge for your business or a more effective jumpstart to your personal development in 2024, I'll make your first step super simple. It is a fact that an incredible number of the most successful business owners, nearly half of the Fortune 500 companies, top-earning professional athletes, entertainers, and industry leaders like Microsoft's Bill Gates, former President Bill Clinton, Oprah Winfrey, Richard Branson, Amazon's Jeff Bezos, and Salesforce Mark Benioff all have one thing in common. They all have at least one coach, and some have several, that they work with on a consistent basis. Someone that helps guide, mentor, and support them, challenge them, help them set and achieve goals that move them forward, and then hold them accountable to follow through, driving personal and professional growth. Working with a coach has many substantial benefits. Just for an example, 80% of coaching clients report improved self-esteem or self-confidence thanks to coaching. 99% of individuals and companies that hire a coach report being very satisfied, and 96% would do it again. If deep down, you know it's time to make those improvements in your business, your personal life that you've kicked down the road year after year, if you're tired of knowing there's a better version of you waiting to shine, but unsure of how to bring that version to light, if you're tired of wanting to enjoy a more successful business, but not sure how to start, and if you don't want to go another 12 months without better results, but you don't want to go it alone, then take the first step. It's super simple. Sometimes talking to the right person can make all the difference. Go to www.ricksolover.com/contact and I'll set you up with a free consultation call with me to see if one-on-one coaching is right for you.
And it starts with whom? It starts with us. So raise the standard. I remember when I met Michael Jordan for the first time, and it was while he was still with the Bulls. And I asked him, I got a chance to do some coaching, a bunch of people, and then got introduced to him because of this. And I said, Michael, I said, how is it you do this? I mean, you're the best that's ever lived at this stage. Got to ask the same question of Wayne Gretzky. And interesting, Wayne Gretzky, I'd read someplace and he gave me the same answer. I asked him the same thing. You're not the fastest. You're not the strongest. You're not, you don't, how is it you're the great one when you're not the fastest, the strongest, the quickest? And he said, well, Tony, I appreciate the compliment, but he said, I think one of my advantages is most people skate to where the puck is, and I skate to where the puck is going. The power of what? Anticipation. He knows the pattern. With Jordan, his standard was, I asked him, he said, Tony, everybody, I said, what makes you the best? Is it natural ability? Is it talent? Is it skill? Is it God-given? Is it strategy? What is it? He said, Tony, I think I can say this to you without it sounding like hyperbole. He said, I have got unbelievable natural skills. But he said, study my history and you'll know why I am who I am. I did not make the high school varsity team when I was a sophomore in school. High school, I got cut. He said, I had a lot of natural talent, but the greatest gift of my life was a coach who said, you're not on the team. And I looked at him, I laughed at him. I said, you got to put me on the team. I'm the most talented guy out there. He said, no, you're not. He said, you have a lot of natural talent, but you have no heart, no absolute commitment, no real drive. You're not on my team. And it just crushed him. And finally he negotiated and he said, look, you want to be on my team next year? Simple. Meet me every morning before school for a one-on-one practice and I'll take this raw talent and I'll teach you discipline. I'll show you how to raise your standard. And if you show up the whole year, I'll guarantee you a spot next year. And if you don't, probably the same outcome's going to happen when you try out next year. He couldn't believe it. And guess what? Most people don't know. Michael Jordan got up every morning and drilled and drilled and drilled and didn't get to be on the team. And next year he was on the team and he was not only good, he was great. Guess when his career exploded? When he lost again the championship to Detroit. And he was on the bus, he said he was crying in the back of the bus, physically crying, pissed off at all the other players that they hadn't done their job. And something inside of him snapped and realized, crying, whining, blaming everybody else is not the problem. I need to raise my... Because he realized that's what did it for him originally. And you know what he did that year? He lifted weights like never in his entire life. He decided he was going to dominate every person, every floor, every place, every spot in the country. He's going to be stronger than anybody. He practiced like he'd never practiced in his life. And oh, by the way, he won how many NBA championships? How many in a row? 3. Retired, came back and won how many in a row? 3. Never anybody in history would even dream of such a thing, especially after retirement. That's the power of raising your standard. But guess who he competes with? Michael told me one time, he goes, Tony, if I competed with other people, I wouldn't be who I am. He said, my competition is with the best I can be. They're trying to compete with me. That's why I beat them. Because they're competing with where I am. But I'm competing with where I can be. Think about that mindset. Think how your life would be different if you raised the standard of what you expected from yourself, not your people, yourself, to that level, how things could shift. It's all about changing your shoulds to musts. It's all about going back and saying, this is how it's going to be. It's like when Gary Vee was here and guys were saying, man, I'm working so hard, man. I work from 9 to 6. He goes, yeah, what are you doing from 8 to 2? 8 p.m. to 2 a.m. That's when you master your craft. I always say to people, it's what you practice in private that you'll be rewarded for in public. People say, oh my God, you have this great ability, this great skill. They didn't see all the hours. This class, this course, I know tons of the stuff like the back of my hand. But if you talk to my team who's exhausted, they'll tell you we're up to 4 a.m. almost every night. To be able to figure out how to provide for you a life cycle and get it to be real so you can think about Nike and give you accurate information about when did they really get to young adult, when they fall down. We had to make phone calls, read financials, do all kinds of stuff. We did all that stuff. We were doing all these things and we've accomplished so much, and I figured out how to make it even better. That level of commitment is what makes you great at what you do and gives you that little edge that makes you stand out from everybody else. And that standing out is what makes somebody absolutely own an industry or brand themselves like nobody else in the world. That process is what this is about. Raise your standard. When you got to go home, you got to say, where are we going to raise the standard? What am I going to take that's been my should and make it absolute must? Where are we going to do that as a team and how are we going to pull it off? Now, who here has ever, by the way, your income right now is a result of your standards as well. It's not the industry and it's not the economy. Who here is making more money today than you made 10 years ago? Let me see your hands. How many feel like it's not enough today? Let me see your hands. And how could that be? Real estate's so cheap now. Computers are cheaper than they were then. You get so much more for your money. Because once you achieve a level, who knows what happens? You immediately, you close the gap, you create a new gap. That's because that's what makes us grow. Who's willing to go back to where you were 10 years ago? Not many. Some of you would be because it's gotten worse in the last 10 years for you. But the majority, there's no way. See, once you're fortunate enough, if you don't like cleaning house, once you're fortunate enough to have somebody clean your toilets, you will not be doing that again. Unless you like that. You'll find somebody who loves cleaning toilets and you'll pay them handsomely. Because now to go back and do that, once you've had the privilege of not having to do that, it's a different game. It's a gross metaphor, but who gets what I'm talking about here? Say I. Once you have a must, you find a way to get to it. Every one of you in this room is earning what you must earn, not a dime more. Don't get me wrong, you might have big goals, big desires, but it's not a must for you. Because even when the economy crunches, if it's a must, you will find the way. How many agree with me on this? Say I. See, when it was a must for me to get at one level, I did. I remember it was a must for me to finally make $1 million a year. I had my son Jarek going to be born. I swore I would never have a child unless I was financially set, and I wasn't financially set. And he was on his way. I went from $38,000 a year to making $1 million a year in the next 12 months. That was all BS. In my head, I thought all my growing up, all the pain was because my parents fought because there was no money. They would have fought anyway. Because I believed that, though, I raised the standard, made it happen. And then I made $1 million a year for 7 straight years. Even though I built 5 more companies, even though I was helping more people, I made the same amount of money. Guess why? That was my must.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that message from Tony and realized that the key to a better life is as simple as raising your standards, turning those shoulds into musts. That message came from a 36-minute talk, Tony Robbins Motivation, How to Discipline Your Thoughts, and it's available on the YouTube. I'll leave a link to it in the show notes. Thanks again for tuning in. I really appreciate your support, and I hope you have a great week. I can always be reached at www.ricksillover.com, where you can find all my social media links, podcast episodes, blog posts, and much more.